Welcome to It's a Controls Problem, where we do precision guesswork based upon unreliable data given to us by those of questionable knowledge. I'm your host, Charles Johnson. Okay, welcome everyone to another episode of It's a Controls Problem. I am your host, Charles Johnson. I'm here with the producer extraordinaire, Matthew. Matthew, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you doing, Charles?
Oh, I am living the dream. I had my first intermediate class this week, and I finished grading, and now I'm here. So, we have a special guest here who I have known and Matthew has known for a good part of 4 years now. His name is Matthew Oliver, and he is the controls manager for Static Air. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. How's your day going?
Going great. Just fun fact, Matt Oliver used to work with us at Link Spring, and then he decided to spread his wings and fly, and now he is a controls manager. So, Matt got a couple questions for you to start off, and then we'll get more into kind of what you do. So, everyone in controls has the how I got here story. So, what was your first introduction of the world of smart buildings, and was it a deliberate career choice, or was it like right place, right time kind of accident?
It was actually a Craigslist ad. I was tired of doing installs for Dish Network and saw an ad to become a controls tech and HVAC tech at the same time. I took the opportunity and I started learning controls the hard way. Thrown in there without learning anything.
Well, that's the way that everyone learns, right? Trial by fire.
Exactly.
So, or baptism by fire also. But yeah, so a Craigslist ad.
Yeah, it's dating myself a little bit, I know.
I mean, but that's actually kind of hilarious. I didn't realize that. Damn, I didn't really think that there were HVAC controls ads with Craigslist. But yeah, I guess back in that day, that was just as good as anything else. So
I thought it was just for escorts.
That and controls.
Oh boy, man. We're gonna go ahead and ask the next question now. I feel kind of parched here. By the way, this is not alcohol, so I mean, take it what you will. But Matt, in your own words, what is the core mission of Static Air? And beyond just moving air, what are you ultimately trying to solve for your clients?
The core mission, as the owner, my boss, Hanson, came up with, is he was tired of the mechanical guy blaming controls blaming the mechanical guy, and always pointing fingers. So he started a mechanical company with a controls company and service to marry it all together, and nobody can blame anybody for what's going on. So not only just regular office buildings, jobs like that, we specialize in grow facilities across the nation. So we control the environmentals, the fertigation, we control the lighting, we control CO2 integration, then the building, and we do it on a grand scale for larger companies.
So is that also for Static Grow as well?
Yes, Static Grow is what we rebranded for that side. And then the Static Air is going to be for more of the mechanical and the service and such.
All right. So can you walk us through a specific time on the job where things went sideways? Maybe a system failure or a high stakes install, like that you had to lean heavily on communication and navigate that crisis?
On a site that we took over fertigation, we were integrating with an Allen Bradley system. They wanted to keep the Allen Bradley running the pumps, and we were to take over all of the solenoids. Problem with the communication, and the Allen Bradley was on a failing computer. So obviously we were the last ones to touch it. When things started not watering, complete rooms started dying overnight. we were to blame, and it took a lot of man hours to fix the network and reprogram all the PLC controllers without the help of the Allen Bradley technician, because they walked away from the job.
So for the people out there, can you explain what fertigation is?
Fertigation is going to be your adding fertilizer and your watering to the plants. So they'll have different nutrients in different tanks, and you have to choose the right tank at the right time, the right amount of passes, so that you get the right amount of water and then the right amount of dry back, which is the soil drying back for it to be able to be ready for the next day.
Thank you, good sir. Like I just wanted to make sure that some people got that definition, because sometimes, we've got, we have a wide array of audience, and obviously this is a, what you're doing is very specified. And so a lot of people may not be well versed in. So thank you for explaining that.
Oh, yeah. And the cultivators have different terms for everything that we used to know. So
that's also fair. Also fair. You're not wrong. So here's a question. I just thought about this. So in those high pressure moments, like, how do you bridge that gap between, the control speak and what the business owner needs to hear?
The main thing is you got to stay calm, and you just got to stay persistent, and you got to keep open communication with the business owner, with the people on site. You can't let your ego get to you. We all make mistakes. If it's logic, if it's communication, what it is, as long as you're sitting there helping the customer and showing that you're giving the time, that's what matters.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Usually customers are better suited when you at least are telling them what's going on and keeping them in the loop. I'd rather, I'm one of the proponents for over communication rather than under communication. I'm a data guy, so like I want everything, and then just like things that don't necessarily matter, I just ignore.
Exactly. Treat everyone like a data center engineer. They want everything, no compromise.
That's that hit so hard. Yeah, I understand completely. So, also for our listeners who spend kind of their days in, more of a retail space or office space, what are the primary factors that you are looking for that make an indoor grow environment fundamentally different from a typical building that you would normally see in like a Charles world?
With the grow rooms, you can't have outside air 90% of the time, so you're recycling the air. You're controlling not just temperature and humidity, you're controlling the vapor pressure differential for the plants to be able to bring in more nutrients through the soil. So controlling that, it's a little bit harder than just temperature, humidity, economize. You have to keep everything dead set, and it's 24/7 operation. So the units that you use, regular commercial and industrial, they get a break on occupied times. The grow facilities, they never get a break. So your 15-year lifespan on equipment goes down to 5 years to 6 years at best. So it's constant fixing things, constant work, and constant monitoring. And alarming, we have facilities where we'll get 5,000 alarms in a week. So
I'm sorry. Did you just say 5,000?
Yes.
Wow. So like, so I assume like you probably have like not only like space dew point sensors, but soil dew point sensors as well.
Yeah, soil EC sensors, temperature sensors, moisture sensors. We use a lot of LoRaWAN sensors from MileSite. So we get the temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, CO2, just a lot of different types of sensors, depending on what the customer wants to see.
And are you trying to have more moisture, are you trying to create an environment where like you have that, where like the soil's always wanting to draw moisture from the air?
Not draw moisture from the air, but the right amount of moisture for the plants themselves.
Okay.
The soil, we want it to get moist enough so it takes in its nutrients, and then we want it to dry back. But that's another moving target with the cultivators. There's always the new big method, the new big sequence they want, or the new big toy they want every 6 months. So it's always a moving target.
So with that, obviously, that means that, the normal temperature sensors that are being used really probably don't fit right in that environment, because the drifts are just too just too great, right? Because this isn't a comfort issue, right? We're dealing with an environment issue. So it's a financial catastrophe if something happens when you get that far out of whack. So how do you approach precision differently? And when is the tenant, or let me rephrase that. How do you approach precision differently when the tenant is a plant?
The biggest thing with the temperature sensors and the humidity sensors is we will scatter multiple throughout the room, and we are looking at differences between them because you will have microclimates all throughout these grow facilities. So any sensor that is greater or less than 10% or 10 of another sensor, we immediately take out, alarm, and take it out of the logic. So instead of just comfort, we have to monitor everything constantly, and we'll have to go through and calibrate sensors, replace sensors every 3 months.
So I guess a follow-up question then is, I guess how much do factors like biosecurity and even pest management influence the way that you design and automate these systems?
Well, the pest management and all that is actually taken care of by the grow facilities. They have very tight schedules. They monitor everything like that. Interestingly enough, they actually use pests to kill off pests and then use CO2 to kill off those pests.
So can you, can you talk about like the pests that are detrimental to the plants and then the pests that are used to take care of them?
I leave that up to the cultivators, but I know it's different types of spider mites, things like that. And I'm not sure which of the ones that they use, the nematodes they use. I don't know the ones. And the CO2, we just get the CO2 in the room up to about 2,500 parts per million to kill those off.
Wow. Okay. So Okay. So 2,500 is the number. I thought it was actually going to be. That was actually going to be smaller than that, but I guess that would make sense that the higher the CO2, the less oxygen content you have.
Well, we keep the rooms at given time 1,000 to almost 2,000 parts per million all the time.
Okay, well, that's actually really good to know. So, so we often focus on tech, like that. We've been, you've been talking about the different ways to control, and then even using pests to kill pests, and then the CO2 to kill, those. So we often focus on the tech that we have, but how much of your success do you attribute things like to project management and interpersonal skills versus like knowing those protocols?
That's a tough one. I'm a very personal person. I get along with everybody, and I bring that to my controls, and I bring that to my controls guys. We're not all perfect, so I'll always be there to help you. We all learn from each other. You've been doing this how many years, and you still are learning. I've been doing it for, way far less years than you, and I learn from everybody, even newer people. So as far as project management, I would say treat your employees the way that you want to be treated and take responsibility for what you mess up. That's about it.
So how about from a project manager perspective, what about managing the costs of the project? Like, I guess, since, like how fast pace, are these jobs coming in? Like how quickly do they need to get installed, and how much time do you have to commission these?
The jobs come in quick. We're booked up for almost a year solid. We're on site right now at 3 different sites. So as far as cost analysis, when we're out of town, I have to manage all of the costs of the employees, the housing, all of that. The sensors and everything come from the cost directly, but that's all built into it. It's hard, but it's worth it. As far as commissioning, we don't get much time. It's a lot of remote commissioning after the fact, and that's a lot that I do while the guys are moving on to the next job.
Now, do you have like a commission agent involved in these kinds of things, or it's just like you doing the verification with the customer?
Yeah, there's no commissioning agent per se on these jobs. This is all owner direct, and it's their stuff.
And does that vary from state to state? Like, I know, like if you do like California, there are some requirements for that, but it could be different for grow facilities.
Some of the states have a few different requirements, but as far as sequences and the commissioning, none of that is ever involved with the state on that. There's requirements for like the CO2. If it gets too high, we have to tie in purge systems, things like that. But that's about it.
So, what is the biggest? I guess what's the biggest hurdle that you see from the control standpoint in these facilities?
The biggest hurdle is for the cultivators to understand how systems work compared to what they think they should work like.
Okay, so can you elaborate on that a little more?
So the cultivators, they want very, very tight parameters. They want to keep it within 2% humidity, within 3 degrees temperature, higher and 2 degrees below. And they don't understand the controls equipment. They don't understand the HVAC equipment, the limitations. So trying to give that to them and show them and for them to understand it takes a lot of work at all of the facilities.
Now, with the sensors that you're using, like are you using like Bisala sensors, or are these like specially designed sensors for these kinds of facilities?
Yeah, the MileSite LoRaWAN sensors are the outdoor agricultural sensors. We also use Senva outdoor sensors for CO2 temperature and humidity. And then the ductwork sensors are the ductwork sensors. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is if they use different sprays for cleaning the room or getting rid of bugs, that those sprays have a tendency, there's a few that will eat coils inside your unit. So when they make those sprays, we have to give them a way to shut the units down while it's being sprayed and have it come back on automatically. The easier you make the system for them, idiot proof, the better off your life is.
So what about like particulates in the air? Like how is that? How does that play into this in this scenario?
When they have it as a closed system, you don't have to worry too much about the particulates in the air at all.
Yeah, because I guess there's very little infiltration, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. I'm also part of the curious because I've never actually worked in a grow facility myself. I know. I mean, obviously, I know you, and I know that there's Cirrus is another one in grow facilities. I think there are a couple others that I know about. So we're gonna. I'd like to dive a little bit deeper in the LoRaWAN here, but what controllers do you use for these specifically?
We're using their, I think it's a UG71. Their wireless outdoor industrial gateway is a phenomenal controller. You can bring in up to 2,000 sensors and turn it into BACnet IP, come directly into multiple JACEs, no problem. We've deployed over 100 of those so far with over 500 of their sensors across the facilities that we're doing right now.
Now, for the local controls, what do you use?
For the local controls, we use a combination of LinkSpring 634s and Jace 9000s with NIRO.
Oh, so you're okay. So I guess depending now, when do you? I guess from a design standpoint, when are you using the Jace with the NRIO versus the 634?
Well, before I came on, they were using the Jace for all of the Aeon because we do custom Aeon controls. So they'd have an Aeon unit with a Jace 9000 and the NIRO, and it's controlling that. And then whenever we would have a panel inside, we would have one Jace with 5 NIROs running 5 rooms. Since then, I have gotten the company a little bit farther away from that and then installing one controller per room. So that way, if one controller goes down, you lose one room. You don't lose all the product in 5 rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need to have some kind of you need to kind of have some fallback plan for that for sure. Because having that single point of failure, I could see could cost millions of dollars.
One room can cost millions of dollars.
One room can. Oh man. Okay, so how I guess an estimate if you thought about it, like let's say it's across 5 rooms. How much do you think that's worth?
That's a loaded question because it all depends on the strain. It all depends on what they're going to do with it. Is it going to be flower? Is it going to be extract? They have greenhouses where they have no cooling and they're 100% humidity, 100 degrees inside there. and they use that just for extract. It's not the greatest stuff product, but if you're extracting it, you kill off any mold, you kill off anything, and you can turn it into the extract.
Interesting.
There are strands that are worth a lot more, and they flip rooms roughly anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. So from 8 to 12 weeks, they're flipping a room, and some rooms could be 3 tiers tall, some rooms are 5 tiers tall, and 1,500 square foot, 5 tiers, things like that. You get a lot of product out of one room.
Wow. So how do so I guess for me now, like how are the graphics working? So do you are you using just data blocks, or are you using pretty sweet graphics locally? And then what do you use at the supervisor level?
So locally, we have just basic graphics. So that way, if the main supervisor ever goes down, then they can still log into the local supervisor. I've built the network so that each site has a local supervisor in the Azure cloud, and then there's a main supervisor that brings all of those in. On the main supervisor, the main point of contact where everyone logs in when everything's working, I'm using Work Software Infor View Builder and building out custom dashboards as they need, how they want to see them.
So with LoRaWAN, and obviously you're using BACnet. On average, what's your point count on that?
That depends, because we have anywhere from 4 to 8 sensors on 8 sensors in a dual tier system, 4 sensors inside of a single tier. Each one of them are pulling in 4 points out of each one of those sensors, and that's just for one room. And then on top of that, we use 2 BACnet wired sensors for the back wall, the front wall, and then the unit has your return, supply, humidity on both, and all of that. So there's quite a few points.
And then you mentioned that with the Aeon units that you have, you're putting a Jace on there with your own program. Why are you doing that over versus using the VCCX or something like that?
So that we can actually custom control the compressors the way we want in the modulating gas reheat without relying on the custom or the standard program that's in there.
And what kind of compressors are they using in a facility like this?
You usually have 4 compressors per an Aeon. 2 of them are modulating, tied to a modulating gas reheat coil. 2 are stage DX.
And I assume they're just in the are they in the dehum position, or are they not really caring about dehumidification at that point?
The dehum would be for the first and second compressors with the modulating gas reheat. The second or the third and fourth compressors are more or less for extra cooling. And then some facilities we will have electric heat, gas heat, reheat. So there's a lot of different things that keep adding to the system.
Okay, no hot gas bypass or anything like that?
Well, no, we have the modulating hot gas reheat.
Okay, just that. Okay. All right. Okay, so all right, with your Niagara knowledge, because obviously you're using a lot of Niagara. You've gone through the Niagara AX certification. You've gone through Niagara 4 certification. If you were sitting down with someone today who just got their N4 certification, what is the most single port? Let me rephrase that. What is the single most important piece of advice that you give them if they are starting their automation career today?
There is 100 different ways to come to the same outcome in controls. No one way is right or wrong. It's just which one gets you there the best with the least amount of problems. Don't be afraid to try something, test it out, use a sandbox playground, use your local daemon host, play around with it.
And how much time do you think that someone is on average, and again, this is just your opinion, on average spending, their own time to work on this and getting, as they say, learnt up on it?
Not enough. I mean, plain and simple. Most everybody wants to get paid to do it, and I learned by just learning and playing on the computer and playing on the systems. I have PLC controllers laying all around my desk. I have VCCX controllers. I have Distech controllers. I have Honeywell Jaces. I modify all of them and I use them in my house just to play with them, just like you do.
Yeah, and that's really a good point. Like, you do have to have some kind of, you kind of have to be a self-starter in controls, especially when you want to get there. So, in your opinion, how many years do you think it takes for someone to at least, I think, how do I want to say this? Because this is kind of delicate. How many years do you think it's going to take for someone to, like, when you hear their experience, okay, you know something?
It all depends on the environment they were doing controls in. If you were stuck in just, say, train controls, you worked just at train, it would take you 15 years before I'd say you know controls, because it is so cookie cutter easy for you there. Whereas the technician that is thrown out there with the mom and pop shop that doesn't subscribe to one control system but subscribes to anyone that'll let them work on it to get the jobs, they get more well-rounded faster. And I would trust them more than I would trust the seasoned technician from Train or JCI or any one of those.
So you think like 5 years is a good number at that point?
I would say 5 years, yeah.
Okay. What is a blind spot that you see our industry making repeatedly? And by blind spot, I mean like a common mistake that you're just seeing over and over again, whether it's in design or installation or sales. Like, what are some of those things that you see?
As far as the sales side is underestimating, overpromising. As far as the controls engineer, ego, letting your ego get to you. You can have pride in your work, but as soon as you let that be driven by ego, you get defensive and you shut people out and you really shut yourself out of jobs.
So how about from a design standpoint, where do you see the pitfalls happening there?
From a design standpoint, not listening to the market, pretty much trying to innovate faster than what the market's looking for, and leaving behind the simple things like a backnet MSTP VAV.
Well, so maybe I guess what I'm trying to say is let's go with like a controls, let's just say ABC controls contractor. Let's say I am designing a job. Let's say I'm trying to design a grow facility. So from the design standpoint, where would I want to focus on? Where do you think that I would make the most common mistake that I would need to be able to kind of make sure that I get those ducks in order before I move on?
From that standpoint, I would say don't value engineer. If you're going to do something, do it right the first time, because it's always pay me now, pay me more later. I would rather it be done right the first time rather than coming back trying to fix mistakes, add stuff to it, change logic, or anything like that. So take your time when you're doing this. Take your time when you're designing any room. This goes for any controls, any HVAC. Don't rush through it, because as soon as you rush through it, you will miss things.
So is this more of do you think this is like a change in education, or is this like just a matter of standards, or is it something else entirely?
I'd say it's something else more entirely different. It's your own morality in this situation and what you're willing to give up, what you're willing to do.
Is it so do you think there's a generational gap here that's happening too?
Yes, I do. I mean, the younger generation, we need more in the industry anyway, but we need more that are willing to do things right and not just look at it for what's in it for them.
Okay, so devil's advocate,
Damn.
So should should the should also the onus be on making sure that the dinosaurs like you and I, making sure that we're working with them to teach them the right things versus kind of like, you know, wiping our hands, from them. Cause like I know there have been times where like I've written people off and maybe I wrote them off too soon, or maybe I just kind of developed a bias for them based upon an interaction I had, and then later on I realized that they actually kind of surprised me that they did have it, and maybe I should have given them more of a chance. Do you think like that's happening as well?
Absolutely. I think that we do need to give them a little bit more credit, but we can't just hold their hand and baby them either. You got to give them a little bit of tough love, but you can't just get rid of people and not give them a chance. Because, I mean, you look at us, we both failed in the beginning. We never did this perfect right off the bat. We had somebody that helped us. So there is that.
So here's another question I have. What? Okay, so if Matt Oliver School for Technology, let's just say that you decided that you wanted to open up your own business and you wanted to help cultivate the industry further, to make sure that the younger generation succeed more than they are. I'm not saying they aren't succeeding, but I think that they're definitely struggling more than probably what we did. I think, there are people that are older than us where their struggles now are currently like actual technology, like being able to use a computer, or
Yeah.
other smart device. And then you've got the people like us that, we're kind of like, how do I explain this? Like, we're kind of like the elder millennial. We're that we grew up a little differently. We didn't rely on technology in the very beginning, and obviously we've kind of had to learn it before. And now you've got people that have been completely immersed in technology and don't really have that. Some have some drive of being self-sustaining, but it's really more of a learned ability now than something that was just kind of inherent after a while. So, if you had your way to create, a like a school and a process to go through, how would you build that?
My idea with controls has always been the same. Just like you said, we grew up in that era where we were Gen X and millennials. I want a controls tech to be well rounded. I want them to understand what they're controlling before they try to control it. So if I were to do a training, I would immerse them in HVAC and in controls at the same time and intertwine them. So you're not just with the technology, that you get hands on, you're in the compressors, you're throughout the facilities, and make sure to take them on job sites on different things. If it was duct beating or anything, the more you learn what you're controlling, the better you'll be able to control it.
What do you think? What was most difficult for you? What was your biggest learning curve?
My biggest learning curve, oof, that would have to be the different pressures of HVAC refrigerants. But
Okay.
thankfully, you have the magic box in your hand now. You can pull up all that instantly.
Yeah, mine was always install. I struggled with design for a while, but install I've never really done very well. I've had some, pardon my French, I've had some shitty panels in my day. I just I don't have time for that, and maybe it's a pride thing where I'm like, I feel like my time is focused better on doing other things. But from an installation perspective, it always killed me. Like, someone's like, hey, go wire that up. I said, okay, do you want it done right or do you want it done neat? And they're like, well, both. I was like, no, 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 that's not what I asked. I'm like, right or neat? Because I'm going to tell you, if it's neat, it's probably not going to be right, but it may look like absolute, schlock. But guess what? It's going to run. It's going to run perfectly. So I remember I had this a cooling tower system, and you had isolation valves on the top and the bottom, and we needed to stage it where one actually closed before the other. And so, I took them off the outputs there and whatever, and they're like, the installers came by, they're like, man, this looks like crap. And I was like, well, can you fix it and make it work? Yeah, we can do that. I'm like, it's working now. Just FYI, I have it tested. No, we went through that. That works. We're just going to clean it up. I'm like, so then why didn't you come out here to do this in the beginning? I'm a believer of, playing to your strengths.
Absolutely.
And even then, like from a design standpoint, how I actually got better at controls design was actually programming. So when I did design for a while, I struggled with it. Because I'm trying to put it all together in my head, and then like I'm putting it on a piece of paper, and some things were right, some things weren't, but something never really clicked for a while until I took my own, until it was actually a project manager, and he was like, "Hey, I want you to program a job that you design." And so he's like, I want you to be like a one-stop shop. So, it's going to be, Charles Johnson, and you're going to be the tech. You're going to be the programmer. You're going to be the design guy. Don't worry about sales. Don't worry about the project management. We're going to handle the rest. But I want you to focus on this, because I think that, some of the gaps that you have are going to quickly resolve. And let me tell you, they did. So like I went to sit there in my first job, and I'm like, this is terrible. Like I thought about it from a programming standpoint and how I'd program it. And then I look at my drawings, and I was like, well, this isn't right. I've got to put this here. I should put this here, or, well, this can't be avoided. So I've got to do that. But at least then at that point, I then started figuring out, okay, I can place this one here. I can place this here, and I can place this here. And now things start flowing better, rather than like, oh, well, where the hell is that point? Oh, why is it on that controller? No, I can't have that being networked. I'm going to go find, I got a backnet relay I can go ahead and try to do. Or really at that point, there were LAN relays that I used, but LAN's a four-letter word on this podcast. Modbus is also a four-letter word, even though Modbus is 6. It's a four-letter word to most people.
Modbus. Oh,
I love Modbus. I mean,
it works when it works.
Well, I mean, y'all just need a Modbus better. That's all. So that's all I'm saying. Y'all just need a Modbus better. That's it.
Well, it's nice when people go in and change registers on you and you don't know it.
Yeah, I mean, Carrier does that a lot. Like they load a new profile. Oh, everything's off by 1. Gee, thanks. No, I get that. It's shout out to Aaron. He and I have gone back and forth about, what we like or don't like about Modbus. He hates Modbus but loves mayonnaise, and I hate mayonnaise and love Modbus. And then we had
sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, I think mayonnaise is just an abomination. Like, it just I don't know why we ever like that. And pickles. I think pickles are also absolutely terrible. Like,
so I know then you must really hate Miracle Whip.
That's no, like I feel like that's, I don't even want to say what's the equivalent of, but yeah, like, no, that should have never ever been designed. But like, as an aside, I know when like pickles touch my food, and even though like they remove them from my plate, I'm like, I know that fry right there has been desecrated by that pickle. It is talking to itself, or it's talking to my fries and making fun of them. Like, I'm just like, no, I can't have it, because I know it's been tainted. For me, I think I do have another question here now. So, since you've been in the industry for a while, where do you see the industry going in the next 5 years? Like you talked about LoRaWAN a little bit, and maybe you can give a little more detail as to what LoRaWAN is for some people, or even like what the abbreviation is. Are we going to finally achieve true like interoperability, or is that still just a moving target?
I think we will get in better at the interoperability. As far as LoRaWAN, it is a low-powered signal sensors that actually use the MQTT and JSON to pass the data, and it can penetrate multiple walls. If you have not direct line of sight from the gateway to the sensor, I've seen up to 5 miles of sensors working. There's one of the distributors that we work with is in New Jersey and in New York, and they put the sensor on the top of one building in New Jersey and the gateway over in New York, and it's over 3 miles away, and they've not lost a single packet in the past 5 years. So as far as the technology, it is a great option if you can't get wires ran. You do have to watch for battery usage. As far as the sensors we use, if you transmit data every 10 minutes, you get 10 years out of the battery. If you transmit the data every 1 minute, you get about 4 to 5 years out of the battery.
Wait, hold on a second. 10 minutes and 10 years for the battery? So do you have to set up do you actually have to set up the gateway internally? Like, I know that there's a backnet gateway, which I have not dealt with, but do you have to make changes to that gateway to determine the heartbeat or how often it's pushing data or anything like that?
No, the actual sensors, you set up the sensors to the transmit rate that you want with NFC on your phone. Once you set it, you record your EUID number, so your unique identifier number, and then you go to the gateway and then you add that device, add the name of the device, and then you wait for the first transmit, and then you can check the signal to noise ratio and verify that you're not having any problems with that. As far as the signal to noise, you want anywhere from 60 to 100 decibels, with the signal to noise ratio being anything positive, and you'll be fine with not having any interference.
So since you're using NFC, does that mean that you can scan the sensor without being powered right away?
Yes. When you scan it, it'll actually activate it and power it up.
That's super sweet. I think NFC in controls is something that that should be utilized more. Like being able to just not even have a controller powered up, and then just taking an app and holding it over the phone, and then you can make setting changes and then take it back to that NFC. And so then once it's powered up, it's already set up for you. You don't have to worry about it. That's just super dope.
Oh, it's awesome. Varus makes some of their sensors that way. Belimo makes their actuators that way now. It is a very convenient way to make changes on the fly.
Oh, so Belimo has NFC in there. I didn't realize that.
Yes, they do.
Okay. Well, that's actually really good to know. Huh.
No longer do you need that little MPT tool and hook onto the wires in a certain way. And
yeah, that makes sense. So couple other questions I have. So we talked about that smart building industry. Where do you think the indoor agriculture space is headed?
It is getting a lot bigger, especially with the rescheduling and other laws that are changing. So it's only going to grow exponentially. Currently, there's a lot of locked systems that growers and grow facilities are getting tired of, and it opens up the door for tritium. That is where we thrive, and we are pushing a lot of different grow facilities towards to give them the ability, because there's enough controls work for everybody. I don't need to lock you in. I want an open system so that if you don't like me in 5 years, that's fine. I'm not going to lock you out of your system. One of our facilities companies, that's what happened to them with Schneider. The guy that was did all the install got upset at them and locked them out of all of their facilities and started setting off just audible and visual alarms throughout all the facilities and never returned any calls.
Well, that's a womp womp.
Exactly.
All right. So do you think it's going to be a standard part of the urban infrastructure?
I do. As well as the LoRaWAN, it opens up the doors for the smart cities. Vera, obviously Linkspring works with them. They have an awesome outdoor gateway for developing, but it's not for the general contractor. That's more for the big developers to do smart cities. But I do see it exploding in the urban and in the outdoor grow facilities. There's a lot of room for growth.
When you eventually step away from all of this, what do you want the Matthew Oliver stamp on the industry to have been?
I just want to give back all the knowledge that I have and get the next generation going. Obviously, I got my son started at 20 years old.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix is a good kid. Really sharp. did really well, in my N4 class, and I think he really enjoyed it and learned a lot.
Because, I mean, when it comes down to it, just enjoy it. I mean, have fun with it.
Well, I think that's really the important part, and trying to find your home and where you can see that happiness coming in, I think is also really important.
Absolutely.
Well, Matthew, do you have any questions for him?
No, you took care of all of it, and let's record the outro later because I also have to jet here in a few minutes.
Yeah, no worries about that. Matt, thank you very much for coming on the show, and really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
And that's all we have for this episode. Remember to stay curious and grow your experience. Until next time, I'm Charles.
And I'm Matthew.
And this has been It's a Controls Problem. He, all of a sudden, he walks by and he hears ground control to Major Tom. And he's like, what's that? I was like, Space Oddity 2000.